Hi, my name is Sesan Adeniji. I'm an entertainment journalist. I've been privileged to be editor of Bubbles magazine. I'm now publisher of Mystreetz Magazine. I'm an A&R. Yeah, and you're simply watching Simple TV, the best. So if you ask me precisely to talk about which generation, at what point did Afrobeat with an S become major, it has always been a process. The idea of Afrobeat, number one, is an umbrella name that covers different genre of sound that is coming out of Africa, not just different genre of sound. Every player that's contributed to the growth of that movement is part of Afrobeat. The question you should ask is, that a lot of people have not paused to think about, is, what is the Afro in the beats with an S? In short, what was the Afro in the beat, the first Afrobeat? Afro itself is anything that is coming from a black man, whether you're doing music, whether you're doing fashion, whether you're doing lifestyle, whether you're into technology or fintech, anything that's coming from the black man is tagged Afro. So at the point in time when the idea of Afrobeat began to come, so if you're doing beats in terms of you're an artist, you're doing Afro beats, but you can't do Afrobeat, the one that is with Fela. So guys back in the days from where these names, entire umbrella name begin to come, oh, this is an Afrobeats artist, one with the S. Oh, there are a lot of them. Why don't we just target Afrobeats? So it's not just a sound from a particular artist. It's sound from different folks from different times. And so for me, that is what is most important. I know a lot of people have issues with the one Afrobeat with an S, but identification is key. You can, if you want to put music on different platforms, the one asks, is it an R&B or hip hop? So for us to get to a point where we can even have something that we can identify with that is called Afrobeat, I think it's a plus, because I could look back in the days, I think it was around 2001, 2003, there was a meeting, major meeting, when the influence of hip hop in the growth of Afrobeat with an S began to become major. And I was at this meeting at OJ's, and you have the likes of the late Elder Steve Rhodes was there. I think Burna Boy's, one of the family was also quite a number of them. And there was this idea of, what is even this rap thing? Because rap was becoming major, and it has become like, not even rap, hip hop, a major threat for the traditional sound, which is Highlife, and a lot of them. And I remember I left that meeting, and they think it's not going to last because it's a fad. But the hip hop that we're enjoying in Nigeria wasn't just Nigeria, it was a global phenomenon, a global movement. So it was actually something that could not change. And at that time, some of us were advocating that we should even tag our music, our hip hop then, Afro hip hop. Because if you Google hip hop right now, part of the subgenre, you see hip life there. Why? That's the hip hop they were doing in Ghana. And it's even possible you see Kwaito there. That's kind of hip hop they do in South Africa. If we even put a stamp to it, back as far as 2003, 2004, in short, the word Afro hip hop will have become major. But thank God right now, it's part of the Afrobeat movement, because if you're doing hip hop music, you're actually doing Afro hip hop. If you're doing house music, like the likes of Niniola, you're doing Afro rap, Afro house music. If you're doing trap music, it's actually Afro trap music. So all those, for me, is under the umbrella of Afrobeat. But we know at different time in the world, there's some music that become popular. Right now, it's pop music. So the guys that are doing pop music, in terms of pop music with a beat of reggae, a bit of raga and singing, are dominating more than the guys that is doing rap music now. It doesn't mean the rap guys may not become major in the next couple of weeks. Now let's even start. Let's even clear that Afrobeat with an S and Afrobeat. I think I did it before. Number one, Afrobeat with an S is not a genre. It's an umbrella name. So for those that saying, oh, I'm not doing Afrobeat, I'm doing Afrofusion, I just think it's a good time for them to even have that conversation, that they're even talking about it. Because Afrobeat itself, the one Afrobeat before, it was, how will I put it? At the point where jazz music became major in Nigeria, at the point when likes of ballroom music that the likes of Bobby Benson were doing, when we begin, our music, as the growth of our music has come a long way, and it has been significant with different influences. When the returnees came back in the days, and they came with ballroom, and they were doing jazz music, the likes of Bobby Benson was major. But at the point when we begin to domesticate the sound, the influences that we're having, we begin to have our music. When we domesticated jazz music and domesticated ballroom, the likes of Bobby Benson rose to stardom. And we have sound like, like the taxi driver. What is a fusion of different sound? That is ballroom and jazz. At the point when the influence, and at the point when there were a lot of Highlife artists beginning to come in, Highlife became major, and we have different three kings. We have the Rex Lawson. We had even from the Yoruba, when Ike Dairo infused his own accordion into it, it became major. It's a fusion. Are you getting what I'm saying? When the Juju guys came in and infused their own element into it, it's another fusion that the music became great. So whatever we're doing today is actually a lot of fusion, but fusion is not a term. It's a process. So you can't say you're doing Afrofusion. Afrofusion what? What are you infusing with it? So the only way we can tag ourselves is Afrobeats. So all those other fusions that we have in our music come under the umbrella name. So if somebody comes out and says he's doing Afrofusion, for me, I think they are lucky that the world is even talking about us right now. But they should know that identification is key. There's nothing wrong to say you're doing Afrobeats. Right now, you see the likes of Flavor. They're saying, now we did. Why? Because it is now trendy. It is now so proud to even be an Igbo man in wherever you are and speak your language. There was a point in time in this country where you guys that do Yoruba rap music was major. They identify with their music. So right now, we're identifying with our sound that is coming out of Nigeria, also coming out of different sound from different part of Africa. So it's a joy. In short, I think they are doing a disjustice not to be able to identify with the brand Afrobeats and saying Afrofusion. I think it's the disjustice, because if we can stick by that, people begin to hear us. Now our sound is not just our sound, it's into fashion. You see the likes of Puma doing deals with Davido. You see the likes of Tommy Hilfiger doing deals with an Afrobeat female artist that is Terms. You understand me? You see the likes of Wizkid and Dolce & Gabbana. It's still now a sound, that Afrobeat sound from different artists. And if you check it, these three artists does their music differently, different fusion. But it's trendy right now to affiliate with Nigerian artists doing different version of Afrobeats. So for me, we should stick by that name. I think we have come a long way. The world now knows we have the numbers in the world. The world now knows we have people that's even, most of the big show you see today is not white people doing it. It's different Nigerians in different part of the world that is organizing this show. So I think for me, it's a plus. It's a disjustice if any artist cannot affiliate with that brand called Afrobeats, which is a different fusion. Whether you're doing different fusion, you should be under the umbrella name of Afrobeat and be proud of it. It is a marker for our time because, like I said before, when we begin to domesticate the sound influence we're having, we begin. In the early 50s, when we domesticated Highlife and Ballroom, different artists, and don't know, even by this time of this domestication, different influences was key, economic and political. At the point when they took us slavery, when they came back, it was political, it's a political thing. They came back, a lot of the guys that came back were able to bring in what they had, the guitar and everything, and started Highlife. At the point in the 80s, when we begin to hit different pop music begin to come into Nigeria, at the time we domesticated pop music, we have different Afro-pop artists that emerged from Nigeria, the likes of Onyeka Onwenu, the likes of Alex Zito, a lot of them. Are you getting what I'm saying? At the time when hip-hop began to come inside, when we domesticated it, we begin to have our own, hip-hop begin to evolve itself. So where we are today, from the question that you asked, Afrobeat itself is a major force to reckon with. Now, it's even, for me, it's even major by more than what you see from the Caribbean, because now, like you said, there are different fusions, different sound. You listen to music, you hear undercurrent of R&B. You listen to another sound, you hear undercurrent of reggae or Jamaican influence. You listen to another music, you hear undercurrent of traditional folk music. And don't forget, we have the numbers in the world. Don't forget, they're Nigerian all over, turning up. So it's not just, it's a movement right now. People want to affiliate with it. So it's not something, for me, it's not something that could die, because in terms of looking at it from the business perspective, if you're a foreign designer, and imagine they bring Tommy Hilfiger and call it Tommy Nigeria. Do you know how many people want to buy it and it's affordable? It's business. Right now we have the numbers, we have the artists. We're not even talking about mediocre artists. We have artists that can actually perform. And we have Nigerians, just like the way behind the scene, you're there doing great job. They're Nigerian in terms of the promoters, Afrobeat promoters. They're Afrobeat dancers, you understand me? They're also Afrobeat entrepreneur. For me, this is here to stay a long way. Afrobeat is going to stay for as long as the black race continue to move. Hip-hop is a culture. Afrobeat is a culture. The fashion, the music, the entrepreneur. So right now, it's not just music. We're going to do well. The brand Afrobeat, that umbrella name, everybody doing it is going to be here to stay for a long time. And just like the way you cannot have the reggae disappear, you cannot have hip-hop disappear. Afrobeat is going to be here. The joy of it, that fusion, a lot of it, there's a lot of fusion to it. So it's not just one particular sound that is trendy. There are different artists doing different sound and doing different stuff. So for me, Afrobeat is going to be here a long time. Kudos to everybody that have contributed to it, because sometimes a lot of people, there's a lot of unsung heroes that people have forgotten. When I entered this estate today in Maryland and I smiled, I was telling my guy here that does, I said, do you know here, there's a major movement in terms of Afrobeat that even happened in this main day here, because there was a guy called Kelechi Amadiobi that was shooting some street far away from here. At the point where we needed, Afrobeat artists needed the right image, Kelechi was shooting us a picture. Not far away from here, some houses away, there's a guy that used to shoot videos for Yemi Alade, was here in Mende as well. Don't forget, not far away from here on the Korodu Road, there's the people like Vivid Imagination in terms of fashion that contributed to the growth of Nigerian music. Different artists, you understand me? There's Kesi Jabari. So it's, for me, I think we're here to stay. The umbrella name, we should be happy that finally we have something we can identify to. And for you, people didn't notice, when Wizkid won the award they won recently at BET, for the first time, a Nigerian artist won a category where he featured other artists. As in, he was nominated in a major category, not just say Best International Act. Best Collaboration is an international collaboration. There's no specific for everybody. For me, that's another major achievement that we should be happy that an Afrobeat artist has attained. So if you talk about cultural theft, life is going to evolve. Some folks is going to take credit at a point in time, but the truth is going to come out. Right now, we have like 2 major Afrobeat documentary that is out, shot by Nigerians here. So if you ask me in terms of why people, they give credit to Beyonce in terms of that he helped promote or Afrobeat, for what Beyonce did itself is a major achievement. Don't take it away from her. It was major. it was a contribution. And Beyonce will have done it if it doesn't add up. It's because it makes sense that, man, this is a movement that is coming. What we need to do, like me from a journalistic point of view, I've been saying it back in the days that we need to begin to tell our stories. And we need to tell it right. It doesn't have to have subjective amnesia to it. Like I said, right now, it's not just the artists, they are media folks. In short, for me, I think one of the major contributors to the growth of Afrobeat, Unsung, that people really don't say, it is the media. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? If you check it, if you remove, in terms of radio, the impact of radio away from the growth of Afrobeat artists, the major, OGBC, Ray Power, Cool FM, it was major. Star FM. Star FM was like a mecca for Nigerian, for Afrobeat artists at the point in time. Then talk about media. If you take away the impact of journalists, entertainment writers, I was privileged to come at a point in time where we need to define that this is entertainment music writers, because we have entertainment writers back in the day, but they do a bit of music, do a little bit of society. No. When I came in at early 2000, 2001, 2002, we say, let's begin to write stories about Nigerian artists. Let's have a music magazine. For now, what we can say, an Afrobeat music magazine. And when I started with Bubbles, and at that point in time, for the first time, I remember I put Plantation Boys on the music magazine cover. There was no photographers in this town. We had to buy a camera to shoot for the purpose that we needed those artists to look good. But there was another magazine called Hip Hop World that was also doing great things, but we were writing a lot of stories about Nigerian artists. It was those stories that Nigerian artists were taking to embassies to get visa. It was a cultural movement. It was a statement. We made them look good. From there, we begin to move. We follow artists. I was there when Nigerian artists began to move from Ghana Music Award, when we begin to win. Because the movement started in Nigeria, in terms of Nigerian contribution to Afrobeat. When it started in Nigeria, we went to Ghana and we began to dominate Ghana, begin to win the award, Ghana Music Award. I was there, 2006, when we started winning the Nigerian. From there, we moved to Channel O. I was there. At that point of Channel O in Africa, it was key, because that's where this hip-hop generation, the contributors to Afrobeat, the hip-hop generation, 2006 was a major year for us when we went to Channel O. I was there sitting in that place. It was me. I was there. Two-Face was there. Two-Face won an award for Ole. Lagbaja won an award, I think, for Coco Below. Wed MC won an award for, I think, Ijoya. You understand me? And at that place, that was the first place I even saw Soskid. And Soskid came with T-Bliss, which later married Tiwa Savage, the former husband. And that's where the movement started. It was there was Question Mark there was Tom Record there. That's where we began, 2006. And this hip-hop generation, don't forget, I intentionally say hip-hop generation contribution to Afrobeat. That was our major point for us to begin to win. And from that year, 2007, we dominated the world when we went to MTV Road Music Award. I was sitting down in that hall in Munich when D'banj won the award. It was me, D'banj, Wyclef was there, Snoop Dogg was there, and we started winning. So, like I said, the journey has come a long way, and this Afrobeat culture is here to stay. So if you ask me, let's talk about the era where we have international record label here before they departed and their contribution to the growth of Africa, or their influence, or how significant were they? To be fair, I would tell you they never influenced our music, because they had Nigerians, A&R artists working for them. It was, if you go to the 80s where we had Sony Music, CBS and Sony Music, don't forget, we have Laolu Kings as an A&R. And it was Laolu Kings, Sony CBS, contacted when they needed to sign artists that I should go look for Nigerian artists. And he went to Surulere, he saw Shina Peter perform, and he came back, he told them there's an artist called Shina Peter. And they said, oh, they're going to produce that, he's going to be a star. But they don't have anyone to produce him. Not because they may have foreigners there that produce. So they said, if this guy is as good as the way you say it is, why don't you produce him? And for the first time, we have one of the first experimentation of the former Afrobeats that Fela does and Juju music. So Shina Peter, in terms of the 5-beat pattern, introduced that and influence for the first time. Afrobeats, the one Fela does in terms of sound, the currents, they mix it with juju music and they brought Afro juju. That was, there will be significant moments in the growth, in the movement of Afrobeat. For me, that was one major moment that did. So they never influenced the music. But later, and don't forget, they have the marketing. There's different of them, but if you check it, why do most of them leave? This is part of the story a lot of people didn't say. It was because of the Nigerianization policy. Because at the point in time, the government want them that they should have Nigerians in whether the guy is a cleaner. At the point, they want Nigerian in the management level. Some of them, maybe they don't have those that they could do at that point in time. So some of them had to leave. And don't forget, there was the civil war and a lot of stuff. So some of them left. It was, for me, what they did back in the days is what is happening now. Now we have some of the major record labels here because the economic and the political background is good. And don't forget, I said before, the growth of Afrobeat is as a contribution of the influences we have from the world at the backdrop of political and economic situation contributed to the growth of Afrobeat. So I will tell you that the foreign labels that were here was major. In short, without some of the major Highlife artists I see there wouldn't even be able to, their record won't be hard. So it was a plus for us. But they are not the one that pirated us when piracy began coming. It was Nigerian. It was we that were pirating each other. So there was never they didn't do wrong. And today we have the new ones that are here. But the question everybody should ask, are they actually signing artists? That's one thing nobody's asking. No, they are not signing artists. They are partnering. Most of them are partnering. In short, they are here for the money until they begin to sign artists, just the way Sony did back in the days. Look, they scouted them. They signed them to them. Except I'm mistaken. One of these, if there's any major of this, some of this major label now, if they actually have done that, I'm here to have a discussion. I beg to differ. Your question is that there's a fear that if this foreign record label sign Nigerian artists, that they influence the creativity. Don't forget, it wasn't the foreign record label that was here in Nigeria. It was part of the movement where we're coming from. Davido had that issue. You understand me? Not even Davido, it started from the likes of Sesan Adeniji. When Island Record actually, at the death of Bob Marley, when they needed another artist that is outside the major European countries to become a major artist, they spotted Sesan Adeniji. But at the point in time, the idea of the way they want to sell him, because they see him as jazz, as music, it's fair enough to be able to want to say, let's do this music like this. That was the issue that Sesan Adeniji had, but it was a plus because it was a movement. We should not forget that it's a growth. When Majek Fashek was signed to Interscope, he had that issue as well. But this international record was resident outside the country, not here. No, they didn't get to see. It was an advantage that this guy, they see them as music, instrumentalists. Somebody sees Sesan Adeniji, he sees jazz music. That this guy is a fantastic keyboardist in terms of the composition. So it is fair enough to be able to put that into. They don't understand, but it was a movement for us. Without that, we won't be here today. Without Sesan Adeniji signing for Island Record, without Majek Fashek signing for Interscope Record, without those knowledge, things that we learned, we will not be here today. Even when Davido first had this deal, I think it was Sony, he had that issue as well. But he was able to solve it and say, no, let me get my guys, producer to produce me. Let me get my writers to write because they understand the time, they understand the audience here. So we've actually come a long way. For me, anybody that has that fear today, we've gone beyond that. We are now detecting what is happening. Every Nigerian artist is dictating what is happening. That's how big Afrobeat has become, because in terms of business, they know we have the numbers, we have the artists, and our artists independently, they can write their music, they can produce their music, they can even open shows. Have you seen Rema on the show? And you see the likes of Chris Brown, and everybody wants to affiliate with us. For Madonna to feature Fireboy on our biggest, greatest classic, nah, that's not fluke. Because Madonna is not an artist, she's a religion. For me, that's one of the biggest collaboration that happened. But you know, our young generation don't know what it is. That is the most significant collaboration that happened for us. You know, to begin to talk about the Eshira. But with Madonna, someday we will look back and understand. Madonna is everyone that Beyonce wants to be Madonna. Every female artist wants to be. For her to jump and put a signature and take a picture with Madonna. For me, I would say it is a disjustice for any artist right now that cannot affiliate with the word Afrobeat. Those Afrofusion, for me, I think they're trying to divide us. They're trying to think they are special. They are special, but they don't even need to divide us. Let's stay with it. You can say you're doing Afrobeat, but your own kind of Afrobeat has this. This is your own fusion. But for you to even not to affiliate with that brand, yeah, it's bad. For me, there should not be rancor. Identification is key. Now we have something that we can identify, we call Afrobeats with the S. That is not just Afrobeat, that is just fella. If it was Afrobeat fella now, everybody wants to say, okay, it's just fella. No, this is now an umbrella name that everybody could contribute to, that everybody could be tagged under, could affiliate with. You know, people have this, I think the biggest problem is that people see that is majorly, Nigerians are enjoying it because we're very, very dominating. Don't forget, now we have some of the biggest video. We used to go to Ghana to shoot video. I was here, where it was trendy, where our artists, you know, there was a day we sit, I remember sitting down with Face, I think doing his first album, and we're looking at, man, videos from Ghana. You see blue light here, yellow light here, But what we do as Nigerians, we go somewhere, we understand it, we spread it, we become better. Like the first law of photography, you understand me? Is learn it and become better. Everywhere we become better. You can't stop Nigerians because we are very dominating. If every tribe, and every tribe has their own, that's the way Nigerian is. But I think the biggest issue some of them is having now is that, when you say Afrobeat, you affiliate with Nigerian. Don't forget, I like music too. There was a lot of, movement within Ghana and here. But if you check it, even back in the days, when the likes of Jimmy Odumosu was part of the, was it CBS Awards and name? We pushed them up. When Afrobeat itself was the guy that said Fela should call his stuff Afrobeat. I think, like the story said, there's a guy from Ghana, promotional guy, that also mentioned it as well. But we take our stuff and we dominate because that's the way we are. So I don't think anyone should have an issue with it. And like I said, because it's an umbrella name, and people don't know, see, we're in the beginning of this movement. By the time people understand that Afrobeat is an umbrella name, and I hope every documentary begin to state that fact, don't miss it. Make sure that if you interview someone, if you get it wrong, you don't put that take inside of it. Because there's a lot of, how will I put it, there's another level of colonization that is happening sometimes when it comes to Afrobeat. There's a lot of narrative that is out that I think may do damage to us because it's that you don't tell the story well, or you don't talk about some of the guys that contributed to it. We should make sure that whenever we're talking about Afrobeat, let's nail it down. It is not a genre. It is an umbrella name for different artists doing music out of Nigeria and out of Africa, and it's a culture. The idea of putting the culture out is that it's not just the music, it's the fashion, it's the producer, it's the writer, it's the documentary person. So we need to be able to put that out. It's very, very important that we put that idea out so people could know that Afrobeat, we should be proud that we have Afrobeat. Have you seen American Music Award? Everybody's proud. If they say country music, they're proud. But country music, they have different, people do country music, a different thing. If you go to the Caribbeans, when you talk reggae music, there are different sounds undercurrent. This is what we fought for. In short, we should be glad that in this generation we are alive to see that Afrobeat has become something that the world wants to affiliate with. Not just because we're begging. We have the numbers, we have the resources, then we have the talents. If it doesn't add up to business, if it's not something that is business worthy, the world doesn't want to associate to it. If it's not sound enough, the world will not put it in front of them. You think Didi will just come and jump on Burna Boy stuff if it's not good enough? No, he knew that if he does that, he opens another chapter in his legacy that he did that. And it will ever be in record that at the point in time that Burna Boy the first artist from this generation of ours, the hip-hop generation that won an award, worked with Diddy. Who doesn't want to that? It will be in the record that the first artist that put a lot of Afrobeat artists in an album is Beyonce. It is a statement. So if we have Nigerian artists that don't want to associate with that and they're saying, I am Afrofusion, I'm just sorry for them. If they know how far we've come to be sitting down on the table and be sitting down in front of award ceremony and be receiving an award in front of the general audience at the day of the award show, they will know that it's a fuck up for them not to even affiliate that this is Afrobeats, but it's an umbrella name, but I do different kind of sound. For them not to talk about that, I just think I'm sorry for them. When you talk about piracy as one of, the piracy in this Afrobeat evolution or movement, piracy has its ill. Nobody wants to put music out and it's pirated. But don't forget, like I said, I always see the bright side in everything. The guys, piracy itself was one of the major contributors to the growth of Afrobeat. It's a two-edged sword. Why some were getting rich, others were getting poor. But don't forget, they first created like the roadmap. After the major record label left, they created a roadmap for us to distribute music. People come today and you've mentioned take pirates. People want to mention the likes of Tijo. Don't forget the success of Peace Corps today. Tijo was very, very instrumental to it, because at that point in time, they're the kind of guys that can give artists money to even, okay, you've done a music, take 5 million, go shoot video, take 5 million as an upfront payment for your project. So at that point in time, for me, I would tell you, as bad as piracy is, because for me, I'll put a lot of blame to the government because they didn't even give us an industry. We don't have an industry that structurally is good to even take a pirate and even prosecute them. But piracy itself, as bad as it is, like my guy used to say, Obia Sika, is gap marketing. Your music is out today, and people can get it in Onitsha or Owerri. Don't forget, it's like newspaper. The newspaper you read in Lagos today, go to the north, some people, they don't see it. In short, they see it like a day before. Thank God for technology now, and thank God for technology too in music. Right now, piracy is not a major cause of concern. As bad as it is, we've learned from it, we're going to evolve from it. But at the point in time, when people were saying my music was leaked, it was actually the artists leaking their music, most of them. Because when you get popular, you get big. At the point, don't forget that artists were even going to Alaba to pay them to put their music in mixtape. Because when you become major, you grow. We've come a long way without a structure. Now our artists are performing in O2 and doing shows in Afro Nation. But don't forget, we can do this in Nigeria. Do you know how many stadiums we have in Nigeria? If Wizkid, have you been to a Fino Fest? You need to come to Fino Fest and see the numbers. If an artist does Fino Fest 10 or 15 in Nigeria in a month, it's bigger than what they're doing outside the country. In short, if I'm going to say it's bigger, it's almost at the same thing. So there's a lot that we can achieve here. But we've come a long way. We have stumbling blocks, but we've moved on from it, and we should be appreciative of how far we've come. That's why it's important right now, now that there's a lot of attention on Afrobeat, we need to get our stories right. We need to give flowers to everybody that contributed in it. And like an article I put out like a month ago, as much as we are promoting the artists right now, let the artists carry the producers along. Thank God they're doing it. Let them carry the dancers along. Let them do it. Now, don't even need to carry the documentary filmmaker along. Now, we've carried ourselves along. Do you understand me? But there's a lot that we can do, and we need to begin to churn out artists. Thank God for someone like Olamide. People don't give him his flowers. In this country, I don't think, in this generation, I don't think there's any artist that has an indie label that have churned out, in terms of the capacity of influence that the artist that Olamide has churned out, I don't think anybody has done it. If it was some record label that the artist did collaboration with Madonna, they will make it look as if we can't do it. Fireboy. People don't know that most artists that Olamide people were Olamide was actually supporting them. The first artist, I could tell you this for a fact, that Olamide ever signed, put the dots to, was Fireboy. But every artist that we've known, Olamide was supporting them for their music and giving them money for their video, but a lot of guys did not even know it. Now, Olamide signed Fireboy. Fireboy, without even having the kind of structure that other indie labels are, Fireboy rose. You know how far Fireboy has risen? 2019, when Olamide called me that I should work with Fireboy, and I was taking him on a tour, at the point even when Jealous was big. I was moving around some stations in this Lagos and everybody was, it won't blow. I said, man, this guy is gonna blow. Because I've had that kind of story with Olamide, and I moved around this town from Ibadan to Enugu to Benin. I was taking him around. Look at where the guy is right now. And people didn't know. The force that is coming called Ashake is going to take a lot of people by storm. They can't see it because for me, Olamide is one of the iconic legends that we should give more than one flower ourselves in this country. Though there's Maven. You know, we have the likes of Picasso, what's his name? The first guy that signed Burna Boy. But Olamide should be given a lot of respect for how far he's churned out artists that have changed the movement, not just moving the music, the culture, like you said, the dance, the slangs. When they domesticated and infused our local sound to stuff, man, we've actually come a long way. So for me, I'm happy where we are today. I'm happy where we're going, but I'm concerned that the narrative that we're putting out, we need to put it out right. We should know that now we're sitting down in front of the table and we're having major artists want to affiliate with us. They want, in short, actually, some of these major artists are opening shows for our artists. It's kind of funny. So for me, it is the joy. So I can't wait to see where we get to. Shout out to all the media houses that have contributed to it. You know, like I said, OGBC, you know, we have the Rhythm, we have the Cool FM, we have the Ray Power, you know, we have the entrepreneur there, the Keke Ogbugbe and everything. Shout out to likes of Philip Treman of Music Africa, because without Music Africa at a point in time, we won't be seeing music video. Shout out to Jokeja Ishimi that worked there. You know, in terms of fashion, people forget Sojo. At a point in time in this country, when we're talking about Afrobeat fashion and the success of Afrobeat without mentioning Sojo, is for me, it's travesty. Because at a point within that 2000 and 2003, we can't even afford, our artists can't afford designers. The guy that was making clothes for everybody was Sojo. Check out all the videos there, all the videos of Tribe's record, that Tribe, the band, you see Sojo there. Just like the way we have people before him in the era of the Fuji contribution to Afrobeat, where we have the vivid imagination, we have quite a number of them. You understand me? We had them. So as well as Sojo in this town. Shout out to Kaliepe, because without new live beats, some of the music, it was a major platform for us to see music videos in this town, and artists can grow. Shout out to Imal Goli of MBI. He was one major anchor, music television person that was making a lot of people to see. But most importantly, shout out to Kwame. Because with Kwame, for the first time in this country, in this Afrobeat movement, a presenter said we're going to have a 1 hour dedicated to playing Nigerian music in the morning, in the afternoon belt, and in the night belt. And it happened at Star FM. It has never happened. All these radio stations I mentioned, no, they play Nigerian music, but they never created a belt like here is going to be Nigerian music. So for Kwame to do that and to also start Global Sound, you know, before Nigezie, Global Sound actually revolutionized and creates the standard for what a Nigerian music video could look like and break into the world international market. Because our video was below par. It was Global Sound with the Mima that set that standard at that point in time. And shout out to them Keke Ogungbe, you know, for all the magic that they did at Ray Power. But people always forget, without a man called Femi Lasode that owns even Extra Studio, some of our artists will not even have, you never had Plantation Boys production. You know, I have some of the music video you saw that year. It was Femi Lasode, even Extra Studio, that some of those artists were actually, you know, they got video, they were able to even shoot music video. He opened up for them. Shout out to Nelson Brown. People forget, you understand me? It was key. I was lucky because I was there at the beginning of the plantation, so I saw a lot. So shout out to Ajegule as a play itself. Because people shout rap music. No, those local boys, you think that Ajegule started rapping before many people could do. Danny Shoki was a rapper. You know, so there's a lot of, shout out to First Stack as a place itself. He gave us a platform for a lot of artists to think they can do it. Shout out to Bariga as a place itself that make, you know, how will I put it, ghetto fabulous. You make being ghetto fabulous. You know, the ID Kabasa. So these names that I'm mentioning, they're very, very key, you know, to the growth of this music industry. There's a lot of them that I think if I remember as we go, I'm going to mention their name. So let's give credit, let's even roll it back. Let's talk about the 50s. Some of the major guys that were part of the contribution of Afrobeat. Don't forget Lemmy Gariko. Because without, most people know Fela's art, Fela's music because of his heart. And it was Lemmy that was designing it, you know, for that era. And most of the artists of different record labels in that year, it was Lemmy Gariko that was designing the album covers. And album covers was part of the success of an artist's growth as well. Don't forget the one they call the Margaret Thatcher of this industry, Keiji Okunowo. She was the first female to be like major in record label, CBS, Sony Music. She gave a lot of our artists opportunity for their music to put out. That was in the 80s. You know, if you still talking, that was in the 70s. And if you still stay in that 70s, there's a man they call Ginger Baker. This is a story a lot of people don't tell. Some of the Fela documentary that we're able to be privileged to see. When Nigeria were not documenting Fela, it was Ginger Baker that was documenting Fela. In short, Ginger Baker, this is funny. One of the first recording studio by an individual in this country that was critical to the growth of Afrobeat was owned by Ginger Baker, the Arc studio that's in the Ikeja. He was the first one, and those Paul McCartney even came there to record. Fela even recorded them. We should not forget Ginger Baker. And don't forget his story. He drove from UK to Nigeria with his Range Rover. So when Fela began to fall in love with Range Rover, it was through Ginger Baker. That's the 80s. And that's the 70s. So let's talk about the 80s, you know, itself. I mentioned the name, I'm going to mention that in the 70s. In the 80s, when the influences of pop, when we domesticate pop music, and we started, and some of our major artists begin to emerge. In the pop era, you know, you have Lemmy Jackson, you understand me, part of the producer in that era. And we know some of the artists, you know, Onyeka Onwenu, several of them that emerged in that era, that major player. Lemmy Gariko was also there, part of that era as well. And don't forget, even when we domesticated reggae music and reggae became major in Nigeria, people always forget. Some people won't mention there's a play they call Floating Buka. Floating Buka is somewhere in CMS. It was the hub that everything reggae that was able to bring a lot of reggae artists together. You know, shout out to Terracotta, it brought in reggae music. But in terms of hub, just like the way we talk about Surulere and talk about Festa, Floating Buka was a major place in terms of when reggae was part of the evolution of Afrobeat, of Nigerian music, now that we call Afrobeat music, in that era as well. In you know, because the 80s had the pop generation, had the reggae generation. But what about the hip-hop generation, rap generation? People forget Sound on Sound. Sound on Sound is one of the group members is Mr. Cool. And they were part of the first group that did the rap album. I know the funniest thing, for you to know how hip-hop and rap music was significant and why it became major, go and listen to a song, something from Africa. The person that did rap in that song, you can't guess who. Is the late, what's his name? The guy that did I'm a stylist. What's his name? I forgot his name. He was the one that did rap music, you know, in that song, and he was the DJ at Floating Buka. You understand me? Shout out to the likes of Buchi, the gospel artist, was one of the DJs at Floating Buka. You should give him flower. Laolo Akins always get his flower because it was one of the first experimentation of Afrobeat and Juju music. It did it. Don't forget Blackie. In terms of, you know, this reggae generation, Blackie is key. In short, you can't talk about the evolution of Nigerian music that is now called Afrobeats movement without mentioning the reggae guys and Blackie. You know, not just Blackie, you have the likes of Oris Wiliki. You know, no, my Kokri is in the pop era, still in the 80s. I've now moved to the bucket of the reggae era. You know, you have, like I said, you have this man that has a bakery itself that did Daniel Wilson was also key. And in that song, you know, Lemmy Garrick was one of the man that even sang there. So that is 80s. So like I said, in the rap era in the 80s, you know, on Sound, we should not forget them. Also, we should not even forget Babadi as well. Babadi is someone that, you know, we don't give his flowers. In terms of artists that started shooting videos and started puts our local dialect, everything in music, was Babadi. Babadi is the elder brother of the late Sound Sultan. He is major in that era as well. But for me, in terms of youth involvement, I used the word the other time that the growth of Nigerian music that is Afrobeats, you know, is as an influence of different genres that was coming, but also at the backdrop of political and economic situations that gave us the platform to rise, and technology. Ajigule, for me, in terms of youth involvement, the number of youth at a point in time, Ajigule artists and Ajigule's place should never, we should dedicate so much to them, because in terms of youth involvement with the music, in short, the non-conformists, this generation that I want to do stuff myself, I don't want to listen to the music that my dad is playing, Highlife. Youth involvement, Ajigule started, for me, it was key at that point in time, because they brought the dance. You understand me? They have a lot of artists that was involved. So Ajigule for me was key in terms of youth involvement, and rappers can talk about their best lyricists, but don't forget, some of the guys in Ajigule started doing this rap music alongside some of the guys from Abuja as well. You know, talk about the 6 Foot Plug, you know, the Payback Time as well. But these guys that I mentioned is key if you talk about the growth of Nigerian music, the evolution of Nigerian music, and to what we know as Afrobeat today. If you forget some of these names that I mentioned and you didn't call them, for me, I think is travesty. Also in journalism as well, there are a couple of names that were writers that were doing stuff. You should not forget the entertainment writers, you know, that were contributing. You know, if you come to the 90s, late 90s, where I came in, when hip hop became a major contribution, that was bringing a lot of artists to Afrobeat. You can't forget, you know, for as long as you don't forget the Remedies, the Plantation Boys, Kenny Sento Bugwe, don't forget Kenny Sento, we don't forget Lagbaja at all, because they were major. Also, don't forget Bubbles Magazine and Hip Hop World. Because for the first time, I think that's the first music magazine. When you say music, now I can call it Afrobeats magazine, that was giving the young artists an opportunity 100% to be heard and to be seen. They were using our stories to go get visas, most of them using. And we even created platform. I know with these shows, then came in, you know, the Kwame. People may see Kwame, Nigeria, Global Sound, but some of his parties, I saw the band perform first at some of his parties. Then there's a man in terms of DJing. People now talk about DJs, but they forget GML, Grandmaster Lee. In short, he was the only one that, at that point in time, he was the one bringing records for every DJs in this country. The likes of DJ Jimmy Jad were getting records from him. Some artists actually rose up from DJ Jimmy Jad, from GML. In short, if you talk about DJing, in short, you can't even talk about the contribution, the growth of Afrobeat, and forget the name GML. Because some of the influences that we got in terms of reggae music, reggae records, when the reggae artists begin to go, pop records, when we now begin to have pop artists, one of the guys that was supplying the record was GML. We should never forget GML in that era. It was key. And I say this because people don't read. We have these generations that don't read because they go to the fact that we don't keep record. But you need to read or call people to mention names for you. GML's name should not be forgotten in this in any way Afrobeat is mentioned. And as one of the DJs, I was watching a documentary on CNN Sunday about female DJs, and they didn't mention the DJ called DJ Lockshot. She was arguably one of the first female DJs in this country. May her soul rest in peace. People forget because we have selective amnesia. You know, people forget that's part of story. And you can't even talk about, you know, females in this industry and forget the likes of Goldie. In terms of music video aesthetics, styling, that create a standard up the ante. In short, I think Goldie to Clarence Peter is like saying iPhone 7 to iPhone maybe 19 or something like that. She actually made him better because they robbed mine, because some of the best videos that Clarence Peter started shooting was by Goldie in terms of styling and everything. So people should not forget that generation, and even females that came before them. I mentioned KG Okuno, but what about the likes of Comfort Omoge? Go and listen to Comfort Omoge's music. You hear blues and jazz, and she never used any foreign instrument like guitar. For me, while we have the Third Kings in the 70s, we have the Bobby Benson, we have the Victor Olaya, we have the Ike Dairo, then we have the Fela. But while we move down, we have the Sonia Ade, you have the Ebenezer Obey, we have a couple of them. If you come to the, while we have those guys, there were also females, queens. Comfort Omoge was key. Ajia Lolo in the North was key. And if you check it, most of the time we talk about the growth of Afrobeat, we also forget the North. I've not even mentioned the North. There's Damaraya Jos. They're part of the movement. Some of them even travel to even represent Nigeria to perform outside the country. What about the South, Victor Owaifo? What about the regional kings from the East? The likes of Osita Osadebe, Rest Nelson is even, because it's South side, you look at him from that side, but I'm even talking the core East. The Osita Osadebe, this man, Oliver the Coke, you understand me? Star Warriors. See, Afrobeat is a movement. Like I said, if you follow the journey of our sound, you will understand the true evolution of Afrobeat. Afrobeat is the evolution of Nigerian music with influence from, when we begin to domesticate different influences at different era, under different political and economic circumstances, contributed to the spread of Afrobeat. Now we're even shouting Afrobeat. Maybe by tomorrow, when data is so cheap, when everybody can have music videos in the same. Maybe by tomorrow, when politics is so good, you can go to shows on different stadiums. I don't know what we'll be talking about Afrobeat, because our artists won't even need to travel outside the country. Yeah. Okay, whether we're creating the documentary on Afrobeat, that's the journey of the beats, or the other one that you see by Ayoshina, which is Afrobeat backstory, the most important thing for me as a journalist back in the days is documentation. We don't keep record. And when I came into this industry, I was particular about that. I call my magazine Diary of the Music Industry. If you check diary, what does diary mean? You keep record. I can say categorically tell you, I started the first music documentary channel in this country called My Street TV. When it wasn't even trendy for someone to say, let's do a music documentary channel. I did that, so I was keeping record. And everything from the time I came into this industry, maybe to 2001 and 2002, everything that I've done, I still have the record today. If you check, and that's what is driving me. If you even check backstory itself, is part of the record that I keep. But if you check Journey of the Beats, it's bringing different folks that understand the music industry to tell the story of this industry without even leaving anything out. I've mentioned, we talk about the 70s, but I didn't talk about, what about the school bands? At a point in time, it was school bands that was coming out. The Ofegates, the military band like the Ikas in the 70s, they were key to the growth of Nigerian music industry. We need to measure Sonny Okosu. So those that keep that record is key. That's why some of the early Fela documentary you saw was not done by Nigerians outside the store. So documentation is key, not just for the future generation to see, but also in reporting. You can't call yourself a journalist when you don't understand stuff. One of the rules of journalism is you get your fact right before you even choose to distort it. Because when you get it right, you won't even distort it. But many folks don't understand it. It wasn't trendy when we started writing music magazine. I know people were calling me, why are we doing story of just artists? Can't you do about this one, about this celebrity and write something? No, I said, we wanted to do music. Let's promote these young artists. Let's put them out. Let's shoot pictures. Let them look good. And look at where we are today. So documentation is key to, to storytelling, not even to storytelling, to understanding where we're coming from and where we're going. If these artists that are saying their music they don't do Afrobeat, they do Afrofusion, if you understand how far we've come, to even get, for us to sit on the table with international brand, they will know that at this point they're supposed to be writing Afrobeat every year. They should be eating Afrobeat and writing in their head. So documentation is key. I've been keeping record. I love storytelling. If you check some of the materials that I have, like I said, let me indulge myself again. I was part of the first person that put Plantation Boy as a music magazine cover. Nobody ever did. Shoot Plantation Boy for the purpose of the cover. I put Play first on the music magazine. That was when I was with Bubbles. First on the music magazine cover. No one could do that. I put Rugged Man first on the music magazine cover. You understand me? I put the likes of, there's every artist that at that point in time, we domesticated of how we want our artists to look. And it wasn't trendy. Let me now fast forward to when I was doing my street, because I did 11 years with Bubbles magazine. Chain narrative. By the time I started magazine, I can remember when I put Olamide on the music magazine cover. Some folks that was like a manager of a radio station in this country called me and told me I was celebrating mediocrity, that the boy is not gonna blow. Because at that point in time, people don't even see that, because there were a lot of fad happening, music sound, that Olamide is gonna blow. Look at where it is today. Because when I saw Olamide, when Ali Kabaza called me, Olamide was shy, was under the table, but I could see music. Ali Kabaza was selling him to me like, this is good. Look at where we are today. By the time I put Fino on the music magazine cover, it wasn't trendy for you to sing in Igbo language. Most of the stations that you see now playing Igbo sound, no, they don't play it. It wasn't trendy. They called me and told me, what's all this Igbo boy that you're putting? But I told them I was privileged because I've seen working in an agency, I've traveled, that you guys need to leave Lagos to understand that there's a huge market out there. There's students, now FM station have come, so music was traveling faster, but people don't see. And everything I was doing, I was keeping record. And not even just that, like I keep saying, like you said, hip hop is a culture. I was the first person that did a cover editorial on dance in this industry, because you can't talk about Afrobeats without talking about dance. Our dance was very, very one of the driving force of our music. From Yahooze, you understand me, to different sound. Even the Azonto that they did in Ghana, when we jump on Azonto, we took it over. You understand me? So our music, I first did the cover story on dance. That's another story to even tell. When we begin to do biopics, in terms of photography, you can't talk about the growth of Afrobeat without talking about those photographers that were documenting and doing cover stories. Just like Lemigari was doing art. We have Philip Tremion that was shooting pictures of Black Key album, that was shooting pictures of a lot of artists at that era. I told their story. It wasn't trendy. People could not do that. What about guys that does graphics? You see music today. I did a cover story on guys that does graphics. It was crazy, but I could do it because I'm seeing things that people don't see. I have interviews on Burna Boy when it was no one. I put Burna Boy first on the music magazine. Nobody could try it. You understand me? When I did that, and a lot of artists that I've interviewed, that I have films, footages of them, the footages that I have of when this industry was true. At the point when you can talk to artists and they're open up with you, not now they are talking to them, they are choosing what to say. Now when they were open, I have interviews on them. From Burna Boy to Yemi Alade to Sheyi Shey, you understand me, to Goldie, to OJB. People couldn't do that. One of the first things that did a proper documentary on OJB before it made so wrestling was me. I have his stuff recorded. What about Nomalous? We don't even talk about Nomalous because without Nomalous, why is it a rap like movie? That song won't be major. What about Jeremiah Gang? We even forget. Jeremiah Gang in Jos. At the point in early 2000 or 2003, Jeremiah Gang was the first one who was making us to dance a gospel music inside club with that song Nabaka. You understand me? So there are folks like that. There's a guy they call Bika in Abuja. It was major. It was real rock music. But then now we can look at it and say this Afro rock. It was a major musicians. So we've actually come a long way. This generation, we should be proud that right now, Afrobeat as a brand, as an umbrella name, people are affiliating. When I see concerts of these artists and I just laugh, say, oh wow, this is where we're coming from. When I was in 2007, when the band Don Jazzy were in Germany, Munich, for MTV Music, the band, they didn't give him an award at the major show. Now then, Jazzy, they can, but if we remember all those stuff, we'll be able to say, now what we have, we should be proud of it. Now blacks in America are proud that they are black. At the point that you cannot come. Even if you check the story of even part of the Afrobeat backstory, at the time it wasn't trending for them to even come Nigerian because there was a lot of Ghanaian influence in London and Jamaican influence. Now we should be proud. And now when you hear Afrobeat, automatically you think Nigerian, but it's not just Nigerian. Now it's Africa. People should not feel bad that we think about, because I think most African countries, the problem they may have now is when you think about Afrobeat, the first country you think about is Nigeria. Don't hate the player, hate the game. It doesn't matter. We own it. It's our sound. If anybody jump on it now, some rappers in South Africa are even doing more rap music than Nigerian. So there's a way we can learn from each other. Like Nigerian cinematographers learn from the guys, learn from South Africa, learn from Ghana. You understand me? So, and we've taken a lot of stuff from them. They can also take from us. If they can't take from us, I'm sorry. They should take from us as well. So if you ask me how significant Afrobeat documentary is now, docuseries, and how our storytelling is, I think it's major for the world to know where we're coming from and where we're going, because it's still part of identification and selling our stories to the world. You know, I keep using the word, I'm privileged that I came into this industry when, you know, it was when we domesticated hip-hop, people became major that we're selling to the world. I'm also happy as a journalist that I was part of the guy that was in times when we started winning outside Africa, because Afrobeat started winning in Nigeria, then we won in winning times to spread in Nigeria, and then it started spreading in Ghana and South Africa. And when we even dominated the world, I'm so privileged that I was part of everywhere we went. Then I was present there to see our artists are winning. Right now, I'm also privileged to be one of the journalists that, you know, did the research and did co-produce and co-direct, you know, one of the major Afrobeat stories today. It's a privilege for me because there's a lot of guys that also know stuff like I do out there. So I think, you know, standing from that point of view, I think it's important for us to tell our story to the world, because if we don't tell it, they're going to tell it for us. Now, people are not going to be telling us their own version of what their Yankee version of Afrobeat is, or what their European version of Afrobeat is. Now we're telling our story. I will, just as everybody, I'll tell you, go watch the 2 documentaries out there, but most important, watch Journey of the Beats. You will know that when we follow the sound, when we follow the rhythm of our beat, we will understand the true story of the evolution of Nigerian music that is called Afrobeat today. Because when we follow the sound, we will not miss the name. But when we follow the names, we miss other names. I don't know whether you get that. Yeah, when you follow the evolution of the sound, the journey is you will not miss out. But when you follow just names, often you will jump into trends and forget some important people. And that's what we did with Journey of the Beats. You know, like I said, by the point in time that we domesticated jazz music in the 70s, you know, we have a lot of Afro jazz artists that emerged, and hip and highlife music also sprang up. By the time we domesticated pop music in the 80s, music we hear, the influences, pop artists came forward. By the time in the 80s, when we domesticated reggae music, reggae artists emerged. And by the point when we domesticated hip hop music, and this storytelling, to make sure that it's not just we should not start even at the time we domesticated ballroom and jazz music and infused guitar to have high life artists like Bobby Benson, but we should go back in time of slave trade, because music has always been part of us. When it took us, we went with our music. By the time we came back, we brought some of the instrument, the guitar, and some of the stuff we learned. And like, as a Nigerian, we domesticate our stuffs. If we tell the story from there and follow that sound here, our music that we took there, our music we brought back, we will know the true story of how far we've gone, because this documentary you're seeing is just a tip of the iceberg. When we begin to tell biopics, we will truly understand where we're coming from. There's a lot of story to tell, you know, from the artists, from the directors, from the promoters, from the journalists, from the OAPs, from the DJs, you understand me, that we tell. Everybody should use every opportunity that they have to tell the story, because right now, the world is listening to us, and they're not listening to us because we are not trained. We are the real deal. We have numbers. Not just Nigerian, Africans in the world. Nobody will pay so much for an artist to come and be on one Afro Nation if they don't know that the numbers are there. We have the numbers, and we begin to populate. Not just have the number. We should be happy right now that we even have the entrepreneurs in times of, those guys organizing the shows. They're not just foreigners doing the show, bringing us and tell us how many minutes. No, we have people doing the shows. Then we have Nigerians also in some of the record labels right now, international record companies doing stuff. My own point of view from them, I want to see the day that they will begin to treat us like the way the Sony did back in their CBS, where they will go outside and say, let's go scout an artist, and scout the artist, mentor the artist, produce the artist. Not now that they're doing a lot of partnership. It's good. No, it's where we're coming from. It's great, but we need to do more. We have the technology right now. Let's be happy. Like I said, political and economic. We should not forget what Babangida also did, because without, the privatization of radio stations, it contributed to how FM station came in, and we were listening to music. Likes of Raymond Dopesi, what they did. We don't forget. Even likes of the man that owns STV, because they were doing a lot of promotions. So there's a lot of stories to tell, and this story is not just because we want to tell it because we want to tell it. We should learn from it, and our artists today should learn what it means by documentation. Don't go to shows and not even record it. Don't go to shows and not tell your story. Every artist, because I do PR, some of the artists I've taken on tour, everywhere I've gone to, I have documented them. So I think that documentation part of it will able to tell our stories from where we're coming from, where we're going. But Afrobeat, that is an umbrella name, is not a fad. It's not a music genre. It's a culture. And this culture, by the numbers of people that we have, we begin to expand, will be here for a long time. So let us begin to go with every artist wherever they go now. Let's go. Let them promote. If I see a Wizkid on the show, why he's talking about his producer, I want him to talk about his dancers, his directors. Let's begin to spread. And I like what they're doing now, because even some of our producers are also producing for international record companies. And we should also not forget Wyclef, what he did. Because Wyclef, people talk about Wizkid and the likes of Drake collaboration. Wyclef was the first one that put our artists on the record, Cray 101 in 2002 or 2003. He puts Sound Sultan, Two-Face, and Face. I've not even seen that beat here. People forget that he was the first guy that put our artist, this hip-hop generation here, on his record. So Wyclef is key. Just like, what's his name? This other guy that came from, is this Israel? What's his name? That was doing a lot of, I forgot his name. That was this stuff with P-Square and the likes of the guy before. This guy that sing a lot, he doesn't sing, but he's into power and some other stuff. He's also Akon. People don't forget that, because I've not seen Akon brief part of this story. Akon was key to what he did for us. So Akon was, she said, I'm giving you names that people, we should not forget this thing, because it's important. This key, every beat that they did opened the door for us. Now the world has known us. Now, seeing Fireboy perform at BET, you guys, I need to take you back to where we're coming from. You know how far we're coming. So I think it's important. So let's tell this story. Let's document. And with what we're doing here, this documentation is key for people to see our story. Journey of the Beat is a showman's production. Executive produced by Obi Asika, which is one of the legends of this Afrobeat movement. You understand me? Without Obi Asika, you don't have the story of Pretty and Junior and Pretty. You understand me? Without Obi Asika, there's so many things they've contributed. So they're being part of some of the even shows we used to see in Channel O, then it was them that was producing it. So, Obi Asika, Tola Odusi, then there's my man, Mac. Mac is not a Nigerian, he's white, but for me, I see him as Nigerian. This guy has been part of it, because without Mark gave us, working with Spillings. Now we're talking about streaming. Spinless was one of the major people. You should not forget Spinless as well. So yeah, so it's shown exclusively on Showmax. For me, I said Journey of the Beat is the most compelling Afrobeat story. It's not starting from, it's a complete Afrobeat story. So talking about monetization and royalty, while we're talking about this Afrobeat movement and Afrobeat evolution, while we're talking about why Afrobeat has become something major everybody's talking about, I think it's important to also pause and check, how far, as much as we're growing, that we begin to grow our structure here as well. Because one or two collecting society in Nigeria, I think they're embroiled in a lot of tussle right now. I'll tell them to be able to sit down and get their act together, because The industry is moving faster than them. They should be able to get their stuff right. This is not the, we move beyond personal agendas and vendettas. We should be able to sit down right now and say, we should, if they can put the art together, they will be making a lot of money for Nigeria, even from the international side, because if they do that, they will help even the artists not to make sure that they don't over sell out. Everything that they do in terms of, if you're an artist, if you go somewhere like this, there are a lot of stuff, can you sell t-shirts? There's a lot of memorabilia that you can even be part of to even make money. There's a lot of stuff, beyond the music, you want to go into movies. Right now, most of those stuff, international deals, is done from outside the country. If we're here, if this a collective society, if they can put the art together, they will be part of this movement. And they're this part of this movement, history will not forget them. Right now, I don't think they're part of anything that's happening right now. They're not part of it. There's a lot of licensing, license that is going on that they should be part of it. I know about licensing, some of this stuff. They're not part of it. They should be part of it, as in majorly, and not just part of it. Every artist that they put their stuff out should be able to get what is due to them, because this is business. And if you can do as much as we're telling our story, every 10 kobo, every dime that is coming to an artist is good for the artist. So I think they should get their act together and be part of this global movement, because this movement is not going to stop. This world is that you're moving forward or backward. You can't stand still. Right now, they're standing still. And if they're standing still, and the pace we're moving, that means they're backward. That means they're moving backward. So they can't stand still. They need to get. I know there's a lot of issues that they need to solve, but let's forget the issues and just move forward and find a way. We will evolve. We will learn from it. Right now, artists knows their rights, so people can't just be. So there's a lot we've learned over the years that I think, if they sit back, this is not 2001 any longer. Check it out. So, but as part of Afrobeat, as part of Journey of the Beats, what we've done is to be able to create a Spotify playlist that goes accompany each episode. But there's some songs I'm looking for that I can't find on Spotify because the artists have not put them there. In short, let me even tell you the truth. There's some song that's on Spotify that is not the artist that put it there. And whoever put it there is making money, because those artists that put it there, I don't know what is going on with them. Everybody have what is going on in their airspace. They've not seen how important, someone has not led them to know how important they can put their music there. So if this society are together, if they can't do it, they will have a lot of independent aggregators that put their music there. There is money to be made. In short, and now is when we can all make money. I keep saying we can all make money. I am happy right now that I'm part of writing the script of this document. There's a lot of people that can be part of it. There's a lot of people that can be part of this talk. So everybody should wake up. I was speaking to a female artist yesterday, and I said, female major. I said, why are you not out? I won't even mention her name. She said she's doing radio. I said, you're doing radio. And some of you come and say you didn't put your story out, but you don't even put story out about yourself. Find an opportunity to put story out about yourself. So your record can be somewhere. As much as we know there's a lot of lazy people that don't want to learn or don't want to look for, but at least if you put it there, when they look for you, they will find it. Some of these names that some folks have said that is missing in some of this documentary, Google, you can't even find anything about them. I was trying to, who's this person? I was trying to, okay, look at HBK. I don't know, maybe you don't know HBK, but he's major. I should be able to find something about him. Yesterday, I was looking for Play For Me single. Play For Me single is part of his #1 album that he did after he did Mystreetz, but I can't find the record there. I'm looking for even his boys, Rough, Rugged and Raw. I can't even find it there. Right now, thank God you guys have your stuff on YouTube, and right now we should know that it's important for us to put our content out. This is the time. For me, fintech, I was watching the TV, fintech is now contributing to GDP even more than oil. But nobody has even seen it. Do you know how much entertainment is contributing to the GDP? So there's a lot that we can do for this country. And I pray to God that, because it's hard for you to have worked and people don't give you flowers. It's hard to have issues. For us to be in the right space of mind, to be able to put our stuff out and benefit for the works we have put in. We shouldn't, Idris is down now. I hope people remember that what Idris sacrificed for this industry. Every artist that is on first class right now, That's what Idris did for them. That stand up that he didn't stand up from that plane, the way the lady in America didn't stand as a monopoly, didn't stand up. That's what Idris did for us. People should forget whatever it is the person, what it did. People should institutionalize that moment, what it did. But there's a lot of artists that are sitting there in that plane that day that they didn't do anything. But he's ill now. I pray that he gets better, and people should appreciate him, not just giving him his flowers, for him to make money from this industry that he has invested so much in. Like I said, I'm Sesan Adeniji. I'm from Osun State. I'm not from Lagos. I think that one is related to Lagos. My journey into journalism, it's not just funny is many people don't know. People that truly know me, a few people knows that I did music. Then I started writing for someone that was working in Daily Times, BC Everton. She was the one that opened my eye to journalism because I was writing poems for them to put in the paper. And shout out to Taju Adikwe too, Tajuddin. I don't know why he's my guy. I started. He told me to come and work for African something magazine, a movie magazine, and that's where my story started from. And I was a production manager for that magazine. It's while I was doing that magazine that I was printing. Thank God for printing. Today we came to Shomolu, and I was printing. And I met Goke and told me that bubbles. They have bubbles, but they did it one or two. They didn't compete. You understand me? And I started working for Bubbles, and I just didn't work for Bubbles as a writer. I was writing for Bubbles. I was looking for money to keep the magazine afloat. Even when we had Hip Hop Award, I was major that year, and I could say that we all of a sudden became like one of the number one because with the one that was putting the local artists up, and the magazine became a major brand. That's why I'm going to say this. I told someone yesterday that I watched Afrobeat backstory, and they didn't mention Bubbles. And I said for myself and their friends that I don't know what happened, but you can't forget it. It is impossible, you can't. So that is what I told someone, but I don't know what happened because you can't tell the story. You can't. So that's where my story began, and I thank God because as a journalist, I wasn't just reporting. I was sitting down with Brand. I was telling them about artists. I remember the Brand first show. I was telling Brand, and boy, now use this guy. The LDs. I was telling them. So I was there, but many people didn't see me then because they saw me as the guy that came in from the back door. They didn't see me, but I was ready to make a name for myself. I was writing about artists, pushing it, move everywhere. I thank God for where I am today, and then look back and say, there's so many things I've done even today that has not been done before. And the question is, why didn't they do it? Because people think it's something that's not a fad or a trend, they should not do it. But I could say I did it first, to put Plantation Boys first, even while I was working Bubbles. There's so many artists put forward. But as Mystreetz Magazine, when I started, in 2000, I was doing a lot of stuff. I put MI first on the music magazine when I was doing Bubbles. I put him as Mystreetz Magazine. I put Olamide first on the music magazine, Fino first on the music magazine, Ice Prince first on the music magazine. I even did on cinematographers, video director. I won't forget that. I put Ajay on the video. Nobody has done that before. And I did that because storytelling is important to me, that we need to put our story out, that there's a lot of people. In short, the word then for me is that there's a lot of people contributing to the music industry. Don't just write about the artists. Let's talk about the writers. I did a special edition on entertainment writers. How many first am I saying? People haven't done that till date. I did that first. I did on cinematographers. Nobody has done that till date. I did that first. I did on dancers and dancing, the influence in the music industry. I did that first. So there's so many things, and that's my own contribution to this industry, and I'm happy for where I am because I believe if we all grow together, we will grow. An industry where the artist alone is growing, there's a dying industry. Everybody must grow. If this Afrobeat story that we're talking today, if it's only the artist that is benefiting from it, it will die. Everybody must grow. Everybody, the videos, the directors, everybody must grow together. Everywhere we go to, let's take ourselves along. And if we can do that, just like the way I believe, we will do well. And yeah, that's just that's a brief about me, man. So if you ask me, the future of Afrobeat has been part of all the story we're saying. It was part of the last thing I said, that we need to, everywhere we go, we need to carry everyone along. as we're telling our story, let's tell the story of everybody that's part of this story as well. It's a privilege for me that I'm here today. You've been asking me about Afrobeat because I'm part of an Afrobeat journey and I'm part of Afrobeat first documentary. Because ironically, I could say this, Journey of the Beat is the first Afrobeat story that even first came up. Not even, you can say the other one came first on Netflix, but first Afrobeat that we put out was Journey of the Beat, because it did like a week before they came out. I'm privileged to be part of that story as well. So where we're going is that every artist is going right now. Music is doing well. We begin to get better deals. You understand me? There's a lot of money to be made outside the music in terms of the fashion, just styling, instead of different stuff that we can put money in. You know, the entertainment lawyers, you understand me? They're part of this narrative because I don't want to look back. In short, we've even gone beyond what the kind of stuff that happens to some of earlier artists that sign. Now we're controlling our narrative at record deals, at record companies. So I think there's a lot we go, but where we are right now, it's important for us to tell this our story right. Tell our story right, then carry everybody along. You know, shout out to the likes of, you know, Building Casting Dada, you know, though a campus magazine, but he has put a lot of push a lot of traffic to a lot of music guys and even tell a lot of music story. You know, shout out to Adeno as well, Simple Magazine, or Adekule Fat Entertainment, you understand me? Fat Magazine, you know, did there as well. The likes of Bio and Umishiri, people didn't even forget about Bio. Bio's put, you know, so it's the Too Fat, people should not forget Too Fat. There's a lot of people everywhere we go to. Like I've tried all my best to mention, do a lot of names. Talk about, mention a lot of people. Everywhere we go to, let's tell their story. We should not forget. If we want to document, let's get people that knows it to be part of us. We can't say we forget things when we have opportunities. The first one we have, you understand me? You know, because we may not get this kind of chances again, or we may get another. But people, you tell your story. Like there's some people that have seen some of this story. If it's some of the two documentaries that have, if we miss anything, maybe that's the only story that's going to stay with them. We can't afford that. For me, that's more like another level of colonization of people telling you things, you know, that is not proper. So we should be able to put the story, carry everyone along everywhere we can go through. You know, the future is bright. Afrobeat is not a genre. Afrobeat is an umbrella name, and Afrobeat is a culture, and that everyone that is doing from the fashion, you know, the world should hear us. They don't even have any opportunities. They don't even have any choice than to hear us because we have the numbers. Check out the shows that you're seeing. You see a lot of our people there turning up. So it's an opportunity for us, I think, for this generation. We're not the lazy generation. Right now, if you check the news. Anything that is good that is coming out today on social is from the music. Everything that is coming good is coming from fintech. So right now, the only good narrative about Nigerians is from the music. And it's from Afrobeats. It's a privilege. I'm so honored to be alive to see this. Hi everyone, my name is Sesan Adeniji, chilling and telling the story of Afrobeat right in the most simplest, the most fantastic way, and there's no better place to tell it. Simple TV, you know what I'm saying? That's what's up.